Hello. It is a great honor for me to present my topic in front of Dr. Gil Sang-Yu, Vice President of WAVES, and Ms. Ruth Rodriguez of Department of Labor and Employment, and distinguished participants and other guests in this seminar. My topic is labor market information system in Korea, especially focusing on the labor market survey programs in Korea. Today's topic is actually that labor market information beyond the numbers, but for me, I have to talk within the numbers. Yeah. Main bodies of the gathering labor market information of Korea consist of the five institutions. First, Ministry of Employment and Labor, and the second is the Statistics Korea, what we call Bureau of Statistics, and local governments, government institutions like us, and private institutions like Samsung Economic Research and Institute, etc. Type of labor market informations are general labor market survey data type. Generally, mainly a cross-sectional data produced by the governments. For in-depth research or to make a policy recommendation, longitudinal labor market survey data are implemented. Most of the longitudinal labor market survey data is panel type data produced by the research institute like CASE. And the last one, the administrative collection statistics information are gathered by the central government. Those data are, for example, national employment insurance statistics, or national pension insurance and the national health insurance statistics are gathered by the central government and can be used as a labor market information. But today I'm not going to explain about the administrative collection statistics information. I want to talk about the survey data type. The Ministry of Employment and Labor usually survey four kinds of the data survey. The first is that the labor force survey at establishments. The second is survey on labor cost of enterprise. The third is labor demand survey. The fourth is a survey on labor conditions by type of employment. Other types of surveys are conducted by the Ministry of Employment and Labor, but it's not talking about that today. The labor force survey at establishments is conducted to provide basic data needed to analyze employment trends and the labor conditions on the demand side of the labor market, for example, establishments, and to use such data for policy development. It's a monthly-based survey data, and about 25,000 samples are gathered. Most of the establishments they have one workers or more across all industries, including agriculture, forestry, and fishing sectors. The second data gathered by the Ministry of Employment and Labor is the survey on labor cost enterprise. The purpose of this survey is to find out types and amounts of employment expenses and thus provide raw data for establishment of labor policies and promotion of workers' welfare. It's a yearly based survey data. The third data surveyed by the Ministry of Employment and Labor is labor demand survey. Its purpose is to find out the situation of labor demand in establishments, such as current number of employees, the number of vacancies, and the number of to be hired, the number of job openings, and the number of field job openings. And it is used to for effective adjustment of labor demand policies. It's a biannual survey, and it's conducted in every April 1st and October 1st. The first data survey conducted by the Ministry of Employment and the Labor is the survey on labor conditions by type of employment. Its purpose is to find out working hours, wages of employees of establishments by employment type to improve and develop employment policies such as working standards and the labor and the management policy. They particularly focusing on to identify employment conditions of regular and non-regular workers. It's a yearly-based survey data. The Bureau of Statistics also they survey important data. It is called labor market information by, it is called Economically Active Population Survey. Formerly it was called the Survey on Labor Market Participation. And the other survey data conducted by the Statistics Korea is Local Area Labor Force Survey. The Economically Active Population Survey is to investigate the characteristics of national economic activities, such as employment and unemployment. Also, its second purpose is to provide basic data for macroeconomic analysis and establishment of human resources development policies by measuring labor supply, employment structure, use of labor hours, and degree of human resources. Actually, this is the most popular and most and used by most of newspaper reporters or policymakers or researchers in Korea. It's one of the most important survey data in Korea. It's a monthly based survey, so every month it's surveyed. And the history is that in 1957, the first survey was conducted, and in 1983, there has been overall revision according to the recommendation by the ILO. And in July 2005, the survey basis changed from a 1 week of job seeking period to 4 weeks, based on the ILO standards. Sample size is 32,000 households using result of the 2010 population and housing census. The sampling size, okay, I talked about already. So the interviewing method is the computer-assisted self-interviewing or the computer-assisted telephone interview method is used. The second main survey by the Statistics Korea in the field of labor policy is what you call local area labor force survey. Actually, our company case at first we did this survey, but about 6 years ago, the Statistics Korea, they took away our survey because it's very important survey. The purpose is to produce, disseminate basic data on the detailed employment situations of residents in cities and countries needed for making regional employment-related policies. And the second purpose is to produce and provide analytic data on the employment structure of cities and countries, and detailed data on industries and occupations of residents in the cities and countries. It's biannual survey. Also, the Korea have a labor market survey data from the government institution like CASE. In the sector of labor and employment, we had three major government-sponsored institutions. The first is Korea Employment Information Service. We do survey on YP, Youth Panel, GOMS, a Graduate Occupational Mobility Survey, and CLOSA is a survey for elderly, and Workers' Mobility Survey. The second institution, the Korea Labor Institute, KLI, they do survey on the CLIPS, Korean Labor Income and Panel Survey. Also, they survey on Workplace Panel Survey. The third major government-sponsored institution in labor and employment is the KRIVET, the Korea Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training. They do a survey on the Korean Education and Employment Panel Survey. As for the youth panel, it's conducted by the CASE, our institution. We annually traces the movement of younger generations, ages 15 through 19, as of 2007, on the school-to-work transition. The second major panel data surveyed by our institution is the GOMS, what we call the Graduate Occupationally Mobility Survey. And the GOMS is conducted yearly on 18,000 graduates of 2-year and 4-year college programs to identify their occupational mobility path. And now I would like to talk about the Korean longitudinal survey on the aging. The survey conducted among middle-aged people, ages 45 and over, as of 2006, to collect data on labor market participation, income, asset, and their health conditions. And, it is utilized as a base material for establishing and evaluating policies to prepare for the aging society. Now I'm going to talk about the CLIPS as conducted by the Korea Labor Institute. It is a longitudinal survey of the labor market income activities. It was actually the first generation of panel type survey data conducted by the Korea. And now it's up to 18th wave data are released, and this year the 19th wave survey is in process. It's microtypes data. Also, the Korea Labor Institute, they have the second panel survey, what they call WPS, Workplace Panel Survey. It is also longitudinal survey on workplace across the Korea, 30 or more employees, and surveys are conducted in 1,700 sample workplaces to represent the workplace in Korea. It seeks to understand the general business environments, management system on human resources, relationship with trade unions, and the negotiation process on setting annual salary level. The fourth data are released, and this year the fifth waves are conducted right now. Also, the KRIVET, the Korea Research Institute for Vocational Educational and Training, they also survey on the Korean Education and Employment Panel survey. The acronym of the survey is the KEEP, what they call KEEP. It's also longitudinal survey study. It aims to develop useful information in the identification of Korean youth over 10 years. They survey on educational experience, advancement to school of higher grades, future careers, and transition into the occupational world. The sample is around 6,000. The gathering those survey data, the Korean government produced such a labor statistics shown in the screen. Currently, the labor force participation rate, not currently, at the end of the last year, there was around 62.4%, according to our criterion. But OECD, according to the OECD rules, that's around 65.3%. And the new government that's inaugurated in 2013, they want to accomplish the 70% rate in employment rate. Still, we have to go around. The minimum wage of the Korea as of 2015 is around 5,580 wons. In dollars, you may divide by 1,000. So the hourly minimum wage is around $5.5 per hour. Yeah, the time is up. So, yep. Thank you so much. That is the end.